Dior paid Johnny Depp $20 million to sell you a bottle of fragrance. That is not a rumor. It is a documented deal reported by Variety in 2023, the largest men's fragrance endorsement in history. Bernard Arnault, the CEO of LVMH, publicly stated that the image of Johnny Depp was one of the main reasons Sauvage had been a remarkable success. The CEO of the world's largest luxury conglomerate told you directly that the image is the product. 6 brands on this list operate the same way. 3 do not. By the end of this video, you will have 4 questions that will change how you spend money on fragrance forever. Brand 1. Dior Sauvage is the best-selling men's fragrance on the planet. That fact is presented in every Dior marketing document as proof of quality. Here is what it actually proves. In 2023, Dior signed Johnny Depp to a 3-year deal worth more than $20 million, the largest men's fragrance endorsement deal ever recorded. The average A-list celebrity fragrance deal runs $2 to $4 million per year. Dior paid more than 6 times the industry standard. That $20 million does not appear on the bottle. It appears in the price you pay at the counter. Robert Pattinson received $12 million to front Dior home. Brad Pitt received $7 million for Chanel No. 5. Kylian Mbappé was added to the Sauvage roster alongside Depp. The campaign spend is the product. Sauvage itself is a formula commissioned from Givaudan, the Swiss ingredient company that supplies the majority of the commercial fragrance market. Bergamot, ambroxan, and pepper in proportions optimized for maximum demographic appeal. It is not a bad fragrance. It is an industrial fragrance priced at a premium that reflects the celebrity budget, the retail infrastructure, and the LVMH brand machine, not the materials in the bottle. The vintage market for Dior fragrance shows what serious collectors think of current formula integrity. Pre-reformulation bottles of Dior Homme Intense from before 2020 consistently command premiums on secondary markets. The formula changed. The price did not go down. The name on the box did not change either. Brand 2. Yves Saint Laurent. Yves Saint Laurent created Opium in 1977, a genuinely radical fragrance that changed what masculine and feminine oriental perfumery could be. He created Kouros in 1981, Y in 1964, Rive Gauche in 1971. Every release was an artistic argument. In 2008, L'Oréal acquired the YSL beauty business from Gucci Group for approximately €1 billion, one of the largest fragrance and cosmetics acquisitions in the industry's history. L'Oréal is the largest cosmetics company in the world, answerable to shareholders and quarterly earnings targets. Its primary obligation is not to the memory of Yves Saint Laurent's artistic vision. The timeline from that acquisition to the current state of the fragrance portfolio is the clearest single example of what conglomerate ownership does to a creative house. The documented community verdict on post-acquisition YSL fragrance is consistent. Cheaper ingredients, reformulated formulas, and commercial briefs optimized for mass retail volume rather than creative ambition. Original Opium from the late 1970s and early 1980s commands significant secondary market premiums, not because of nostalgia, but because the formula in those bottles is measurably different from what bears the same name today. Black Opium launched in 2014 as a coffee vanilla white floral designed to generate maximum sales volume at the lowest viable production cost. It succeeded commercially. It represents almost nothing of what the YSL name once stood for. The heritage is real. The current formula portfolio is a mass-market operation wearing a couture name. Brand 3, Versace Capri Holdings, acquired Versace in December 2018 for $2.1 billion. Capri Holdings is a publicly traded fashion holding company based in New York. Its portfolio includes Michael Kors and Jimmy Choo alongside Versace. When a publicly traded financial holding company pays $2 billion for a fashion brand, the mandate is return on investment, which means optimizing every revenue stream, including fragrance for margin. The fragrance division is not the core business. It is a licensing and margin opportunity attached to a name that consumers already recognize. Versace Eros launched in 2012 and was genuinely good. Mint, vanilla, tonka bean, and woods, in proportions that generated documented compliment rates for years. The community documentation on Eros post-2018 is directionally consistent. Weaker projection, shorter longevity, and a synthetic character in the dry down that earlier batches did not have. These are the specific fingerprints of formula cost reduction, replacing naturals with synthetic approximations, adjusting concentration downward, and optimizing for margin per unit rather than performance per wear. The retail price has not been adjusted to reflect these changes. the bottle looks identical. Pre-2018 Eros and post-2018 Eros are not the same fragrance. All the fragrances mentioned across this channel are tagged with the best current prices I could find. If any of these are on your radar, the link is right there in the video. Brand 4. Paco Rabanne Puig acquired the Paco Rabanne brand in 1997. Puig is a Spanish privately held beauty conglomerate whose portfolio includes Carolina Herrera, Jean-Paul Gaultier, and Rabanne. 1 Million launched in 2008 under Puig management and became one of the defining commercial masculine fragrances of the decade. Grapefruit, rose, cinnamon, leather, amber, patchouli, in a formula that performed genuinely well and built its reputation on documented performance. The marketing was precisely calibrated. A gold bar in a man's hand, the implication of wealth delivered with the subtlety of a foghorn. It worked. The problem with 1 Million in 2026 operates on two levels. The first is saturation. 1 Million is now one of the most widely owned masculine fragrances on the planet, so pervasive that it has functionally lost the ability to distinguish the person wearing it. There is a specific disappointment that comes from spending $120 on a fragrance and discovering that the man in the next cubicle is wearing the same thing. The second level is documented formula drift. Community comparisons between bottles from 2010 and bottles from 2022 identify a reduction in the leather and patchouli depth that define the original dry down, the specific quality that made 1 Million more than a sweet oriental. The concentration has been adjusted. The price has not. The gold bar was always the product. What it sold was not affluence. It was the idea of affluence, reformulated for margin and distributed globally. Brand 5. Giorgio Armani L'Oréal has operated the Giorgio Armani fragrance license since 2003 under a long-term agreement that gives the conglomerate control over formula, production, and distribution. Chris Pine receives $4 million per year to front the Armani fragrance portfolio, a number that does not appear anywhere on the bottle but is distributed across every unit sold. The math is straightforward. If Armani fragrance sells approximately 30 million units per year across the portfolio, the Pine endorsement alone adds roughly 13 cents to the cost of each bottle before marketing spend, retail margin, and the Armani brand licensing fee. Acqua di Gio launched in 1996 and was genuinely innovative, a fresh aquatic masculine that defined a category. 30 years later, it is the most imitated scent DNA in mainstream masculine perfumery, and so pervasive that wearing it communicates primarily that you have been wearing it since the 1990s, or that someone bought it for you because it was the recognizable choice. The Armani Privé collection, the in-house luxury line, represents what Armani can do when quality is the brief. The core Armani portfolio under L'Oréal management represents what happens when volume is the brief. The two products carry the same name. They are not the same operation. Brand 6, Calvin Klein Coty Inc., completed the acquisition of the Calvin Klein beauty license in October 2016 as part of a $9 billion deal that made Coty the largest fragrance company in the world by sales volume. CK1 launched in 1994 and was genuinely disruptive. The first commercially successful unisex masculine, clean and transparent, and a creative statement that the industry is still responding to. Coty inherited a formula that had already been reformulated multiple times since 1994, and the mandate to manage it as part of a mass-market portfolio optimized for global retail volume. The documented community comparison between vintage CK1 and current production is the clearest single case study available of what happens to a fragrance when it passes through multiple ownership and reformulation cycles. The original had a specific green, slightly mossy quality in the base that gave it depth and made it genuinely unisex rather than simply inoffensive. Current production has replaced that character with a cleaner, flatter, more synthetic dry down. It smells recognizably like CK1. It does not smell like what CK1 was when it changed the industry. Coty manages it for volume. The cultural credibility of 1994 remains attached to a formula that no longer reflects it. Before the three brands that earn their price, you need 4 questions. These are the questions the industry hopes you never think to ask. First, who owns the brand right now, and when did that change? Private equity and holding companies optimize for margin. Family ownership and founder ownership optimize for reputation. The ownership structure tells you what the brand is actually being managed for. Second, when was the formula last significantly changed, and did the price go down when it did? Reformulation without a price reduction is the clearest signal that the change was for cost, not quality. Third, does the brand have a named in-house perfumer with creative authority? Or does it commission formulas from ingredient companies against commercial briefs? The difference between an author and a contractor is visible in the result. Fourth, what does the secondary market for vintage bottles look like? If collectors pay premiums for pre-ownership change bottles, they are telling you something the brand will not. 6 brands, 6 ownership trails, 6 times the same pattern. A heritage name, a financial acquisition, a formula adjusted for margin, and a price tag that did not move. The industry is not selling you fragrance. It is selling you the memory of fragrance, the residual credibility of names that meant something before the holding companies arrived. Now the other side of the list. 3 houses where the ownership structure, the formula decisions, and the sourcing actually justify what they charge. These are not compromises. They are what the first 6 used to be, before the money changed hands.